Police have identified the man suspected of attacking officers who were enforcing the curfew in Brooklyn last night. 20-year-old Zenon Kamovic was later shot by police and is now in critical condition. The NYPD says 2 officers had been assigned to an anti-looting post near the corner of Church Street and Flatbush Avenue. They say at that point, Kamovic walked up and stabbed one of them in the neck. A short time later, a sergeant and another officer heard shots fired just a few blocks away. They say they got to the scene and saw Kamovic there holding a gun. Police believe that gun had been taken from an officer. It's not clear exactly how he got a hold of the gun. More police arrived at the scene. They opened fire. Kamovic was hit multiple times. 2 officers were shot during the incident. All of the injured officers were taken to Kings County Hospital, and police say they are expected to recover.
We will have a check on the weather in just a moment, but first let's bring you that breaking news. Police say it all started when one man walked up to an officer and stabbed him in the neck. CBS 2's John Diaz is live at Kings County Hospital where all 3 officers are being treated. John.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor, to you and Police Commissioner Dermot Shea and the mayor just wrapping up their press conference a few hours ago. The police commissioner continuing to reiterate that all this information right now is extremely preliminary. Now, I want you to take a live look there at the scene. According to the commissioner, 2 officers were assigned to an anti-looting post at the corner of Church and Flatbush Avenues in the Flatbush section of Brooklyn last night. Now, they were there to prevent people from breaking into stores during overnight looting that New York City has been seeing for days now, when peaceful protests for George Floyd have been turning violent at night. Now, around 11:45 last night, the commissioner says without warning, a man walked up to the officers casually, he says. He then took out a knife and stabbed one of the officers in the left side of the neck. The commissioner says, though, he missed arteries. That's when they believe the suspect stole a gun from one of the officers, and 2 other officers responded when hearing gunshots. When they arrived, they both were shot.
We know that we had a chaotic scene with a knife recovered as well. In the ensuing, we had the perpetrator struck multiple times. He is here and he's in critical condition. We had 2 police officers shot in the hand, and we had the 3rd police officer that is stabbed in the neck. All police officers at this point in time, thank God, are in stable condition and are expected to recover.
And now, like you just heard the commissioner say there, all 3 officers are expected to be okay. They are recovering here at Kings County Hospital. I want you to take a look, though, too, at this video. This video shows a ton of cops lined up here at the hospital in solidarity for them. The mayor says that it has been a tough night, that moments in history like this, we all have to support one another. Now, when it does come to the suspect here in this case, we are told that he also is recovering here at Kings County Hospital. He is in critical condition. Now, officials have not told us any possible motive behind this attack, so we do not know if this is connected to any protests or any looting that we saw last night. But we can tell you, though, is that police officers say that these officers did have video footage on them, those body cameras, and they are reviewing them right now as we speak. We're live this morning, though, from Kings County Hospital. John Diaz, CBS 2 News.
Okay, John, thank you. And you.
So much, Lauren. Breaking news right now in Brooklyn. 3 NYPD officers injured during a violent struggle with a knife-wielding suspect. Today, New York's Miles Miller is live in Flatbush with what we know. Miles, good morning.
Darlene, good morning to you. Yeah, you can see that it is still an active crime scene here at Flatbush Avenue, and just down the road here is where that stabbing happened. We are told that this happened just before midnight. We are told that the officers involved were working on a foot patrol post that was to prevent potential looting in this area. Police say just before midnight, the suspect approached 2 officers without provocation, pulled out a knife, and stabbed one of them in the neck, nearly missing an artery. That officer was rushed to Kings County Hospital, where he's expected to survive. Now, responding cops got to the scene, and what they found was a suspect, likely with the cop's gun.
22 shell casings have been recovered from a number of members of the service. We know that we had a chaotic scene with a knife recovered as well. We had the perpetrator struck multiple times. He is here and he's in critical condition.
And this is exclusive video shot this morning at the suspect's house here in Brooklyn. Detectives awaiting a search warrant to collect evidence. As for the other two officers who were involved in that shooting, they were both shot in the hand. Both are at Kings County Hospital, expected to survive. The suspect at Kings County Hospital as well. We're live in Brooklyn. I'm Miles Miller, Today in New York.
All right, Miles, thank you for the update.
Thanks so much. And we are following breaking news this morning. 2 NYPD officers shot and another stabbed in the neck. This was after a confrontation with a man in Brooklyn. The suspect was then shot. Officials say the violent encounter unfolded just before midnight in Flatbush. Police say an officer on an anti-looting detail was guarding a store when the suspect just came up and stabbed him. They believe the officer was targeted in an unprovoked attack. That man then grabbed an officer's gun and shot the 2 other officers. Police say the officers were taken to Kings County Hospital. None of their wounds are considered to be life-threatening. Mayor Bill de Blasio speaking out.
Thank God all of our officers will recover. A number of other officers came to their aid. It's another example of what it means every day, the men and women of the NYPD, to protect all of us, protect our communities no matter what is happening.
The suspect was shot and taken into custody at the scene. He's listed right now in critical condition. There's no protest in that area at the time of the shooting. We do have a live report coming up in just a few minutes. For a 7
This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
A chaotic scene in Brooklyn overnight. An NYPD officer stabbed and 2 others were shot.
Without warning, video surveillance shows a male walk up to the officers casually, take out a knife and stab one of the officers in the neck.
A live report this morning with the latest on their injuries. And a very good morning on this Thursday, June 4th. I'm Ken Rosato.
And I'm Shirlene Ellicott. We want to get right to that breaking news. We're told police shot the suspect, who is now in critical condition. Police calling it an ambush.
It all happened just before midnight near Church and Flatbush Avenues. Eyewitness News reporter Candace McCowan is live in Flatbush with the latest. Candace.
Yeah, Ken, Shirlene, we should start this by saying that those 3 officers who were injured, they're at the hospital, but they are expected to survive. NYPD saying that they are going through body camera footage right now as they try and get to the bottom of exactly what happened here. I'll show you the scene. There's still several streets here around Church and Flatbush that are still blocked off. But these were some obviously chaotic moments, leaving those 3 officers injured. Now, here's what we know right now. 11:45 last night, 2 officers who were on an anti-looting patrol here at Church and Flatbush. That is when they say a man walked up. This is caught on security footage. Unprovoked, stabbed one of those officers in the left side of his neck. And seconds later, officers nearby, they heard gunshots and ran towards the scene.
We believe that when they got there, they saw the perpetrator with a gun in his hand, which we believe belonged to one of the officers. It appears to be a completely cowardly, despicable, unprovoked attack on a defenseless police officer, and thank God we're not planning a funeral right now.
Yeah, and again, those 3 officers, they were injured and rushed to Kings County Hospital, where many other officers gathered overnight. Now, we know one of them obviously was the one who was stabbed, the knife missing a major artery in his neck. 2 others were shot in the hand. They are all in stable condition. That suspect, he is in critical condition after he was shot by those responding officers. Now, back here live at the scene, we obviously know that tensions have been high between police and the community over the past several days. Commissioner Shea calling for the violence on his officers to stop. He says that words matter after days of protest, but he couldn't say the motivation of the suspect. Don't have any Facebook postings, social media postings from this suspect that he could talk about at this time. Of course, this is still unfolding. They're gathering more details, and we'll bring them to you as they release them. Live this morning in Flatbush, I'm Candace McCowan, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Candace. Live.
Yeah, David, Shirley, I'll tell you, all morning long, we have seen those federal agents here at this scene here in Flatbush, at Flatbush Avenue and Church. Also, we've seen them coming in and out of the suspect's house, which is less than a mile away from here. They are trying to figure out exactly what his motive is, even considering, like, if he, what you said, if he's a violent, homegrown extremist. We're now seeing the face of the man NYPD says walked up to 2 officers, pulled this knife, and then stabbed one of them in the neck. Nearby officers running to the scene after hearing gunshots.
We believe that when they got there, they saw the perpetrator with a gun in his hand, which we believe belonged to one of the officers.
This happened at 11:45 Wednesday night as the two officers were on an anti-looting patrol. The knife just missing a major artery in the officer's neck. Two responding officers who exchanged gunfire with the suspect were shot in the hand and all rushed to Lincoln Hospital.
But I've seen the video myself, and I can say here were two of our officers simply trying to protect the community, and they came under unprovoked attack, and it is absolutely unacceptable to attack a police officer in any way, shape, or form.
NYPD calling in the FBI, who spent the morning searching the home of the suspect, 21-year-old Kamovic Zenin, an immigrant from Albania. Investigators exploring if he has homegrown violent extremist tendencies or any terror ties. His neighbors stunned.
Oh my goodness, him stab a police officer? That's crazy. No way. He says hello and goodbye, and that's it. And mind his own business.
The FBI saying they're fully engaged, going on to say we will use every federal statute available to hold the perpetrator accountable. The attack following days of protest and high tensions between police and rioters. Investigators now working to determine the suspect's motive.
Did we doubt because of the rhetoric we're hearing, the anti-police rhetoric that's storming our streets? Are we surprised that we got this call? I'm not.
In any situation, there's always extremists. People always can take things too far.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now that we know that those officers are in stable condition. They will survive this. As for that suspect, he is in critical condition right now. We know that Commissioner Shea is calling for an end to the violence, saying that he is thankful that they are not planning a funeral. Live here in Flatbush, I'm Candace McCowan, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Candace. Well, Mayor de Blasio. Memorial service and march happening in the city today in memory of George Floyd. Good morning, everyone. I'm David Ushery. We'll see what we can get to. We're awaiting Mayor de Blasio with a briefing on what happened last night. But here's what we know about an overnight knife attack on officers in Brooklyn. The FBI is now looking into whether the attacker was acting as a lone wolf terrorist. Those are just some of the gunshots heard in Flatbush when officers say they were forced to open fire on the suspect. Our chief investigative reporter, Jonathan Deese, has been breaking news on this all morning. He has the latest now. Jonathan?
David, was he radicalized online by ISIS or another radical group, a jihadist group? That is the question police and the FBI are asking right now about an immigrant from the Balkans named Zenin Kamovic. He lived along 22nd Street in Brooklyn, and investigators want to know if he targeted police because he self-radicalized online. They say he was armed with a knife and stabbed one of the police officers in the neck. Police say he then fought with that officer for his gun. During the struggle, shots rang out. A nearby sergeant and another officer heard the shots and arrived on scene and shot and wounded, critically wounded that suspect. In all, one officer slashed in the neck. Two others suffered gunshot wounds to their hands. Now, in the past, ISIS has called for followers to strike at police, but this incident also comes at a time when Kamovic was allegedly posting and liking anti-police images online. The police commissioner briefed the press on the incident overnight.
22 shell casings have been recovered from a number of members of the service. We know that we had a chaotic scene with a knife recovered as well. We had the perpetrator struck multiple times. He is here and he's in critical condition.
The FBI and police searching the suspect's apartment, trying to get at his electronics and social media to learn more about what he was researching online and who he may have been associating with. Again, the suspect may have been a lone wolf-inspired actor, but the investigation very much ongoing, given the time and way this attack took place in Brooklyn overnight. Jonathan Deese, News 4.
All right, Jonathan, we know you're talking to your sources. We'll check back with you if you have to.
The man accused of attacking police officers who were enforcing last night's curfew in Brooklyn has been identified as Zenin Kamovic. He was later shot by police and now listed in critical condition. Police officials say two officers were assigned to an anti-looting post at the corner of Church Avenue and Flatbush Avenue when Kamovic walked up and stabbed one of them in the neck. A short time later, a sergeant and another officer heard shots fired a few blocks away. And when they got to the scene, they saw Kamovic holding a gun which police believe belonged to an officer. It's not clear how he got hold of that gun. Police Commissioner Dermot Shea explained what happened after more police arrived during a news conference overnight.
We had a chaotic scene with a knife recovered as well. In the ensuing, we had the perpetrator struck multiple times. He is here and he's in critical condition. We had 2 police officers shot in the hand, and we had the 3rd police officer that is stabbed in the neck.
All of the injured officers were taken to Kings County Hospital, and they're expected to recover. About 180.
PIX11 begins with breaking news.
And let's get started with that breaking news this morning. Police officers ambushed in Brooklyn. 2 officers shot and 1 stabbed in Flatbush. This happened on the corner of Church and Flatbush Avenue. Now, we have team coverage this morning. Anthony DiLorenzo is at the scene where it happened, and Jen Bizram is at the hospital this morning where the officers are recovering. We'll start with Anthony live where this all unfolded. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, Craig. We have seen the FBI on scene alongside the NYPD this morning, and all of this happening amid heightened tensions here in the community with the police officers. Overnight, one of them was ambushed on a footpost just down the street from where we are, stabbed in the neck. And this morning, the police commissioners say he and 2 other responding officers are lucky to be alive. Overnight, an officer and his partner ambushed in Brooklyn.
Without warning, video surveillance shows a male walk up to the officers casually, take out a knife, and stab one of the officers in the neck.
At some point during the chaotic struggle to subdue the suspect, he managed to grab the gun of one of the cops, and shots were fired, according to the NYPD. 2 other officers, positioned a block away, sprinted toward the gunfire. Nearly 24 rounds were fired, and officers shot the suspect before rushing him to the hospital in critical condition.
It appears to be a completely cowardly, despicable, unprovoked attack on a defenseless police officer, and thank God we're not planning a funeral right now.
When the dust settled, 2 cops suffered gunshot wounds to their hands.
It's another example of what it means every day, the men and women of the NYPD, to protect all of us, protect our communities no matter what is happening.
The officers attacked were working an anti-looting post at Church and Flatbush Avenues during the second night of curfew. An NYPD police explorer and aspiring cop condemning the current climate and said all police officers shouldn't be painted in a bad light.
It's senseless in a way because if you're fighting for justice, that wouldn't be a way to achieve a goal.
Well, the motivation behind this senseless attack is really still under investigation. We're working to learn the identity of that suspect, who is in critical condition at this point at the same hospital where those police officers are recovering. We do believe that he has some sort of history with law enforcement, and that's still being looked into as well. Federal and local charges could ultimately be filed against him if he does survive. This now the 3rd such ambush on police officers here in the city just this week. Reporting live in Flatbush, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, PIX11 News.
All right, Anthony, thanks. And those officers are being treated at Kings County Hospital. Jen Bisram is live outside with an update on their conditions. Jen, good morning to you.
Good morning to Kala. Those officers are here at Kings County Hospital recovering at this hour. And let's not forget that this comes at a time where there's already so much tension between New Yorkers and police officers. Now, those officers are expected to be okay. They were brought here late last night. The police commissioner visited Kings County Hospital and all 3 of the officers and their families with the mayor a few hours ago. The commissioner saying the officers hurt are from the 70th precinct and were assigned to an anti-looting post in Brooklyn. 1 stabbed in the neck, missing an artery. And after a struggle ensued between officers and the suspect, 2 other officers were shot in the hand. Now, this incident happening during the curfew that the city put in place to try to stop the looting and violent clashes between protesters and police officers. The mayor, police commissioner, and PBA president talked about the incident and the ongoing violence at the hospital a short time ago. Take a listen.
Tonight, 2 of those officers were assigned in the 70th precinct to an anti-looting post to stop people from breaking into stores. Video surveillance shows a male walk up to the officers casually, take out a knife and stab one of the officers in the neck. That officer was stabbed in the left side of his neck. Thank God, missing an artery.
Are we surprised? Are we surprised we're here in the hospital again? Did we doubt because of the rhetoric we're hearing, the anti-police rhetoric that's storming our streets? Are we surprised that we got this call? I'm not. We've said it's going to happen. We've said it has to stop, but it really does. All levels have to say it's going to end today.
And we are still waiting to learn more about these officers and who exactly they are, how long they've been with the department. Again, what we can tell you, all three officers are here at Kings County Hospital. They are expected to be okay. As for that suspect is also here at Kings County Hospital. He remains in critical condition. Of course, we'll have much more for you throughout the morning on PIX11 News. For now, we're live outside of Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn. Jennifer Bisram, PIX11 News.
All right, Jen, thanks so much. We want to get a look at your
Police may have been targeted in a potential terror attack in Brooklyn. It happened overnight. The officers were watching for looters when they were ambushed by a man with a knife.
The suspect is now in police custody, and sources tell us that he could be a homegrown terrorist. PIX11's Nicole Johnson's live for us at the scene in Flatbush where that violence unfolded. Nicole.
And Corey, before we talk about that suspect, it's important to note that all of the officers involved in this shooting are expected to be okay. The FBI is looking into the background of the suspect we're talking about. We know he has no criminal records, but sources tell us that recently he posted anti-police statements on social media.
This is the man police say walked up to two officers, pulled this knife, and stabbed one of them in the neck. In an attack police say was filled with hate.
Two of our officers simply trying to protect the community, and they came under unprovoked attack, and that is absolutely unacceptable. An attack on any one of our officers is an attack on all of us.
It's being described as a targeted attack just before midnight Wednesday here on Flatbush and Church Avenues when the officers were out patrolling trying to stop looting. Officer John Pierre, a 12-year veteran, is the one who took a knife to his neck, and two officers took bullets to their hands.
We believe that when they got there, they saw the perpetrator with a gun in his hand, which we believe belonged to one of the officers.
PIX11 obtained this exclusive cell phone video. After the stabbing, you can hear shots ringing out. The FBI immediately joining the investigation, calling the attack a cowardly attack, saying the FBI New York office is fully engaged. We respond as if one of our own was attacked and will use every federal statute available to hold the perpetrator accountable.
There is no tolerance for violence against a police officer, period. In any part of this state, period.
The suspect, Zenon Kamovic, is an immigrant from the Balkans region. Sources tell us he recently shared anti-police sentiments on social media. The attack comes after days of peaceful protests, as well as violence and tension between police and the community.
Violence just needs to stop. We want unity, we want peace, we want justice, but it's like we never could catch a break. It's just heart-wrenching just to see what happened last night.
And that woman you just heard from, she lives right here in this community. She says the officers were just out here trying to do their job, and then this makes matters worse. In the meantime, the suspect we're talking about, he's also expected to be okay. He's at an area hospital as we speak, and we expect to hear from the FBI later on tonight with more on the investigation. For now, we are live in Flatbush. Nicole Johnson, PIX11 News.
All right, Nicole, thank you for that. Well, there's also a police